If you're like me, you've been looking up how to set goals for 2021. Setting goals in 2021, for me, I really want it to look different than what I've done in the past. In this video, I'm going to share with you why I don't want to do the same SMART goal system that I've done in the past, what irritated me about it, and what I'm going to do moving on in the future. And watching all these videos, there's like the 90-day programs, the New Year's resolutions, how to set goals that you can achieve, all of those videos. And they're all helpful and there's good things about all of them. So I was taking notes, and as I was taking notes, I started to just get so frustrated. It was probably because I watched like 2 days worth of videos. I just wanted to find the answer. I kept thinking there's got to be a secret here that people are able to achieve their goals because there's something I just haven't figured out yet. And at the end of it, I just got so frustrated. I felt like Emily Gilmore in Gilmore Girls when she's at the DAR meeting and she just kind of is just done with it, like done with the fake stuff, and says,
"It's a big pile of bull."
So instead of taking notes on what the videos were saying, I turned around and started taking notes on what I was feeling irritated about. And the first thing was with SMART goals. So SMART goal is a specific, measurable, attainable, relevant or realistic, and time-bound or timely type of a goal. The specific form of the goal or the specific characteristic of setting a goal, I think, is really good. It's super helpful to be very clear and know what it is that you want. But I also feel like in the past that has been deceiving for me personally, because I've set a goal, I've made it very specific, even with like a specific number, if it was a weight goal or an income goal. But it was deceiving in that I didn't have a very clear how, like a clear plan that would lead me to that. And so I just sat there comfortable in knowing this is what I want, but no real clear plan of action. So that, I think, can be a little bit of something that I personally need to work on. Measurable is also something that's really good, but this is a huge moment for me that I realized in the last 2 days was that I was measuring out my YouTube, and that's not even a goal. It's like a mini goal of putting out a video every day. And that's where it gets so confusing. Like the Passion Planner stuff, it talks about having this passion roadmap where you've got these lifetime, what you want your life to look at. And then below that, you have game changers. And it's just, I don't know, it's a little overwhelming. But anyway, so when I'm measuring out these things, I was measuring out the numbers that I was getting for YouTube. So if I got a new subscriber, I marked it off on my chart. If I got more watch hours, I marked it off because I thought that was a way that would let me know that what I was doing was good. Like the work that I was doing was good as far as YouTube is concerned. But what I realized and where my frustration came was that yes, I was making progress towards my goals, but I had this yucky feeling of like, why hasn't it happened yet? Or like, why aren't more people watching my video? Why isn't this, and I think a lot of people feel those feelings. Why haven't I reached my goal yet? That's not beneficial. And so I need to make sure that I measure differently. Attainable is also something that I'm not crazy about, because when I was setting my goals and I'm listening to other people talk about their goals, they talk about, was this goal realistic? And I think subconsciously when I set a goal that I think is realistic, it's also limiting me in that it could have been far greater, because when I've looked back and I have achieved my goals, 9 times out of 10, it's in a way that I wasn't expecting. That was not my plan. That was not my how-to, and it far exceeded my expectations usually. I don't like the idea of setting limitations on yourself, but at the same time, I also like to make sure that it's not a crazy idea to me, because then also subconsciously you'll think, well, I'm never gonna do that. And then also, along with the measurable piece, having it time-bound by that specific date, that you need to have it done by that date, is also stressful because you're constantly thinking, it's coming up, why hasn't it happened yet? Or why haven't I reached this point? Or I'm not doing it correctly. It's funny, when I've been watching these videos, a lot of people talk about that it was a goal that they set 2 years ago, they forgot about it, and then all of a sudden they read and they're like, oh, I achieved that. Maybe I didn't achieve it in the time frame that I had set, but I did. And I think part of that is that you release the tension and that stressed, like anxious feeling that you need to get this. So those are my frustrations with it. And I feel like, not to use too many pop culture references, but Tony Stark in Iron Man with the mountains in the background blowing up, I kind of want all of those, like all the things that I've done in the past, or feel like like the rules that I set for myself. I kind of want to blow all of them up behind me. The following, what I'm going to do is really just a journal entry for myself. Maybe it would inspire you to do something different too in your life if what you've been doing in the past didn't necessarily work, or when you look at it, you figure out maybe something else worked for you, even though you were going on that road. Like this little detour was actually what it was that made you successful. Let's pretend I have this Tony Stark moment and I say, for your consideration. So for your consideration, goal setting 2021 style. Number one, I'm going to keep my big outcome goals, but I'm going to ditch the dates, and I'm just going to be focused on feeling the feelings of having accomplished those things and thinking about who's the kind of person that I need to be in order to be that person that lives in that moment that has done those things. Along those lines, I want to stay in that good feeling of that this has happened for me, it's completely possible. And these are all still considering that, so I haven't totally blown up the SMART goals because I still do see a lot of merit in those. But I want to take that and just kind of tweak it a little bit to improve my mental ability to do this stuff in the new year. In that, instead of measuring outcomes, I'm going to measure output. So anything that I track, and you guys are probably all like, well, duh, that's of course what you should have been doing. But I'm going to only measure the things that I'm capable of controlling. So for example, I measure how many steps it was that I took during the day, or how many videos I got out during the day, or whatever it is that I have complete control over, that if I feel like if I do X, Y, and Z, then it'll lead to this outcome. And then if it doesn't, maybe like once a week I would track what those outcome numbers are, or maybe once a month, but it wouldn't be every day, and I wouldn't be living in that space of I'm going to do this and then this is going to come, because it's not in it's not in my control, especially things where it's in sales or YouTube. You have to try a lot of things and see what works. The third thing that I'm going to do differently, and I feel like a lot of this is kind of all over the place, but this is the nature of the daily video, and this is what I'm thinking about. Like I said, this is a journal entry for me. Now, the third thing that I'm doing differently is last pop culture reference, I promise, but it's the Disney investor call that was made recently, where they did the whole presentation of what to expect in the coming years with Disney Plus. I was super inspired, especially now, going on a tangent, The Mandalorian and everything that's happened with no spoilers, but the last episode, I've watched reaction videos of Star Wars fans and I tear up every time I watch them, because it's just so sweet. Like that Disney delivered exactly what it was they wanted to these avid fans. And I just love watching people that are really passionate. Like tearing up talking about it. I love watching people that are passionate about something get really excited. So it's been really fun for me. But anyway, what Disney's done is that they've seen whatever works and they've quadrupled it. So that's what I'm going to do. And you always hear that, but to see it this is how, this is what you do. When you find something that works, you figure out how to spin it off in a million different directions. And so I'm going to use the Disney inspiration and push forward. And I've already reviewed last year. I have a video about that. So what I'm doing is taking whatever worked from however weird 2020 was. I'm going to still take whatever that worked, quadruple it, push it as far as I can. All right, and then the last thing that I want to do has to do with the plan, the strategy behind those big outcome goals. Rather than trying one thing and making it more of a long-term piece, I'm taking it in projects. So projects in concept, I guess, where it's sprints. So if you're familiar with the startup or engineering type lingo, the idea of doing sprints, where you have one idea and you figure out what your minimum viable product, or your the tiniest idea that you can run with and just move forward on. I'm going to do sprints with these ideas, especially when it comes to, I do have a goal that's more income driven, and I'm going to really focus in on the tiniest ideas that I can start and deliver now, and really make sure that I move forward on those quickly. With that being said, I also want to make sure that anything that I do as far as the how and the strategy goes, that it's fun and feels good. I don't want to do something just because everyone else is doing it. And that was something that I started to make changes on over the summer, was that, like in getting rid of social media. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't do that because my goal is to start my own business, to do my own thing. I have to keep telling myself like Instagram, all that stuff wasn't fun for me. There has to be a better way of doing it, or it has to be another way at least. Those are my thoughts. This is like my journal entry. Goal setting is such a I don't know. So many people don't do it, and they have a lot of success still. So I try not to make too much of a big thing about this. Should just have fun with it, right?
You know I gotta